So, here we had the boy's parents had definitely told the boy to leave that skiff and to go and work in another skiff, because they thought that the old man was salo. Now, salo is a word which is in Spanish which means unlucky. So, you remember that. Salo means unlucky, when you are unlucky. So, which is the worst form of unknown, and the boy had gone at their order in another boat, which caught 3 good fish in the first week. It made the boy sad to see that the old man coming in each day, the old man coming in each day, with him his skiff empty, and he always went down to help him. He went down to help him to carry either the coiled lines or the gaff and the harpoon and the sail that was furled around the mast. The sail was patched with flour sacks that furled with patched with flour sacks and furled. It looked like a flag of permanent defeat. The old man was thin, gaunt, and with deep wrinkles on the back of his neck. That's your passage. This is by Ernest Hemingway. So, this all tells you about an old man who goes every day out in his skiff and he goes fishing, and he goes into the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Streams are the warm waters. So, he goes there fishing, and he's been fishing for the last 84 days. And in those 84 days, in the first 40 days, he had a little boy who used to go on his skiff with him to help him. And this little boy used to help this man, and eventually what happened, this boy's 40 days went and he didn't come home with any fish. So, the boy's parents were very upset, and they tell the boy to leave that skiff and to go, because the old man was salo. And so, he leaves it, but the little boy loved that old man, and he felt very sad. He felt very, very sad for that old man. So, he didn't break his ties with the old man. Every day when they would come back after fishing trip, he would go down to the old man and help him to either carry the coiled lines, or to wrap the gaff, and to lift up the harpoon, and to pull down the sail. And the sail was pretty old, and it was all patched with gunny sack, and the gunny sack itself was torn in places and sewn. So, this sail was all patched, and it looked very old and frail, just like the old man, who was gaunt, and he had deep wrinkles and on the back of his neck. Now, this is by Ernest Hemingway. You've got, I've given you 6 questions. Okay. So, you have got to answer the 6 questions, read them, answer them, and you have to do your best when you do it. So, these are the 6 questions. You have 6 questions, and in those 6 questions, the grids, you have the grid, which is of 50 words. You have your meanings. Please don't go onto the internet and don't write meanings from the internet, because I know what the internet meanings are. I've read them thousands of times and I'm fed up with it. Don't go onto the net and copy meanings from the net, because the meaning that you find in the passage, it has to relate, the word that you find in the passage has to relate to the situation in the passage. And that does not help you to on your internet. On your internet, you will not get the word and the meaning which is related to the passage. So, you have to know what the passage is about and what the meaning means in the passage. Every word can have a different meaning. Every word can mean a different have a different meaning in a different situation. Some words have different meanings in different situations. So, you have got to think of the passage and write your meaning accordingly. So, that is the first passage. The second passages that I am giving you is a second passage over here. So, this is one of your assignments. This is your third assignment that I am dealing with. Actually, I was to start with the first, second and the third. I am going backward, a little awkward. So, I am doing the third, then I will do the second, and then I will do the first. Okay? So, bear with me. The third, the second comprehension is also a passage. It's given to you. It's all about Julius Caesar and his assassination and what happens and who kills Julius Caesar. Now, in this passage, I want you to remember that there is a word friends, and the friends are in inverted commas. Now, the meaning of friends over here is in inverted commas has a different meaning altogether. As I earlier told you, friends over here has a different meaning, because those so-called friends, those friends that were very close to Julius Caesar, were the same friends who killed him. So that is the meaning of friends over here in inverted commas. So it tells you that these are not friends, these were his enemies. They were jealous of him and they were his enemies, and they were the ones who killed him. So that is the meaning of the friends in this inverted comma. So you must remember this. And he had 3 friends who claimed to be his best friends and who used to help him. And then finally these people stab him. So you have to read carefully where he was stabbed and why he was stabbed. He was stabbed for 2 great reasons. You should know those reasons of why he was stabbed and for what they wanted to stab him. So it was all because of jealousy. Then who comes into the picture? One of his best friends, who was his truest friend. Now this truest friend was Mark Antony, and Mark Antony takes it upon himself to take revenge for Caesar's death, and how he goes about it. And he goes into war and he kills all those people who murdered Caesar. And finally, Mark Antony and Caesar's adopted son. In the olden days, you know, I'll tell you one thing: the kings and the kings, most of the kings, if you read in our Indian history also, we have kings and queens who do not have children, and they have adopted kids, and that's where your doctrine of lapse and your other things come into being. So in the olden days, the people had no time, in fact, you know, and they used to rule their country. They would rule their country, and they were so busy ruling their country. And when they had time, they had very little time for their wives, the queens, but they had more time for their concubines. Their concubines were more important to the kings than their queens in the olden days. So the concubines fathered a lot of children. They bore a lot of children. Many of the king's concubines had children, and the queen was minus without children. So these children were then later on adopted. So you have that. So in those olden days, you know, when they used to go out on war, when they used to go to war, they used to have these concubines, these ladies who are there taken, because when they are at war, they need someone to cook for them. So for the army, so a whole lot of women and men cook for the army, and they feed them. So these are the women that the kings normally and the king's men use as concubines, and so they have these people. And so here in the same way, Mark Antony took revenge on Caesar's death, but he made sure that Caesar's name continued, and that is how he did it was by Caesar's adopted son, Augustus. Augustus was Caesar's adopted son, and he became the ruler of Rome, and of the Roman Empire, and he and Augustus, Mark Antony helped Augustus, and they ruled the Roman Empire. So that's your next paragraph, and you've got all your same questions. You've got 6 questions, and you've got your give reasons, and I've asked you to write a heading for the title. You've got to write your heading for the title. Okay, so please don't write any rubbish. Think of a nice title. Think of the title in collaboration with what your passage is. Okay, you have to think what the passage is all about, and in accordance you think of a title. So we have done with that. Now I will move on to your next next one. Your next topic is narrative. Your next topic is narrative. Now in this assignment I have got 3 things for you. One is your narrative essay, then you have your informal letters, and then there is another comprehension for you to deal with. So, I have given you a lot of comprehension, because comprehension in your examination is of 20 marks. So, if you can hit the comprehension, you automatically get 18 or 17 or 18 marks. So, you should be well versed with comprehension. So, here again I have given you another assignment, which is assignment number 2. In assignment number 2, you have narrative essays, you have your informal letter and a comprehension. Now, in narrative essay, you have basically narrative means you've got to narrative means you've got to narrate. You've got to narrate an episode or something that has happened in your life, or something that you have seen, or something that you did. You've got to narrate that. So, that is what narration means. You've got to talk about that, you have to speak about it. So, that is what narration is all about. Narrative essays can be very, very interesting. Now, I have given you, the first one is, you had booked a ticket. So, remember, you had booked a ticket on an early morning train. You had booked a ticket on an early morning train. However, you woke up late and you missed it. You woke up late and you missed it. You then decided to run to catch the train. You then decided to run to catch a bus to get onto the same train, and you were going to do that by getting to the next station. When you hoped to catch up with the train, the total event changes at that time. So, then you have to narrate the entire event of how you felt, the effort you made, and how you finally got onto the train. So, I am reading the complete essay title to you again. Okay? You had booked a ticket on an early morning train. However, you woke up late and you missed it. You then decided to run to catch a bus to the next station, where you hope to catch up with the train. Narrate the entire event on how you felt, the effort you made, and how you finally got onto the train. So, that is your first narrative essay. Very simple. So, you can start by saying that you were supposed to go to another place. It was for a job interview. It could be for a job interview, it could be to see a sick ailing relative, it could be that you were going to attend a party that you were invited to. It can be any kind of a reason. So, in your first opening paragraph, you give why you booked the ticket to go on to that particular train, and then you booked it on an early morning train. So, you can even say why you booked it on an early morning train, okay, and why, what is the reason. Like if I was there, I would say, okay, since I had to attend the party at 7, I booked it on an early morning train, as it would take me 2 hours to reach there. Then I wanted to go and book into a hotel, have a rest, refresh myself, get my evening clothes ready, and get ready for the party. So, that is why you booked it on an early morning train, or there can be many other reasons that you have that you can write about as to why you booked it for an early morning train. And then that is one reason why you booked on an early morning train. The next reason is you have to be very specific about why you booked it on a train and your reason. You have to have a very good reason. Your reason has to be very good, because that reason is going to connect with your why you booked it, what happened, and then it has to have the conclusion of what the reason. Your conclusion will be your reason at the end, that the reason is that how you went to the party, how you enjoyed yourself, and what you did there. That will be in your concluding paragraph. That is in your concluding paragraph. So, this is what you have to Right. So you can start off by saying that you can start off by narrating about an invitation that you received, and that you were so eager and happy, and that you were getting ready, and so you went to the railway station and you booked a ticket. You booked it for that very day, an the early morning train, which was which was leaving at 5. Then you can add that the night previous, after booking the ticket and coming back home, you packed a bag and got ready, and then you were very indecisive. You were very indecisive on what clothes to carry with you, because you were thinking whether I should wear a formal tuxedo, or whether I should just wear a blazer and a trouser, or whether I should wear something way out and be a little formal and wear a suit with a tie, and so on and so forth. So you've got to think that how packing itself took so long, and then you were very undecisive. So you called up your friend to ask what kind of clothes they were taking with them, and then you got into a conversation with the friend, and so eventually by the time you left off the phone and you came back to your packing, you packed and it was late, and you decided to go to bed. It was pretty late, and you went to bed around 1 o'clock in the night, and so you had to get up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, because you had to get ready and get dressed and catch the train. And so you went to sleep, and you went to sleep in a very relaxed frame of mind, knowing that okay, I'm done, my packing is done, my ticket is there, now all I have to do is get onto the train and I'll be there and enjoy myself. With that attitude in your mind, you went to bed, and then it so happened that you were really literally exhausted, because you had to stand in the line for the ticket, and you had to really wait for a long time in the hot sun, and you were exhausted, and then you came rushing back home, and you did packing, and you had to talk to your colleague or your friend XYZ, and then so and so, and then by the time you had dinner and all, it all ran late, and you were really exhausted, and you didn't hear the morning alarm. And when you opened up to the light in your bedroom, you saw a faint ray of light coming into your bedroom, and then you realized that it was morning, and you looked at your time, and the time for the train was 5 o'clock, and it was already 4:45. By the time you reached the station, you wouldn't have been able to catch the train, and you tried to make an effort, so you rushed, and you decided that you would brush your teeth and all that and have a bath when you landed over there. So you rushed to this railway station, and you don't have a vehicle, so you decide to take the car. You take the car, and then you go to the railway station, and you had to find parking place to park the car, and it was a big rigmarole, because there were people coming in and everybody rushing to catch a train. People are rushing out from the railway station to catch a rickshaw and to catch some kind of vehicle to get them back home after a long tiring journey. So all this you can add to that, and then finally you get a place and you park, and then you rush onto the platform, and then as you reach the platform, you can see that the last compartment of the train that you were supposed to get onto is chugging its way out. The next thing is that you didn't want to take the risk. You had a car, but you didn't want to take the risk of driving, because you were you were in a kind of a frenzy, and your state of mind was, you had totally lost it, and you were not in a good state of mind, and you decided that it was no point in you driving to the next station. You've got to be a very fast driver. So you decided to take a cab. You could take a cab, and you could ask the cab fellow to drive you to the next station. So I know many of you people, this thing, Salka, Peer Boy, all of you all are getting all those visions of the movies that are playing in your mind. Yeah, I know. You can use that, but don't mention the details. So all you people, you are getting all those crazy visions of when they're running in the bus, they're running and they catch a taxi, and how the taxi driver drives and all that. And then, well, you can even add a little problem, like a horde of sheep in the middle of the road and the taxi fellow is honking and honking on your way, and you are driving along the road that leads to the railway line. So you can see that you're trying to drive along with the train so that you can make it over there and catch the train. And but eventually there is sheep, and then you had to get out from the back and you had to shoo the sheep away, and all. You can just go on and on and on and on, and you can write about another episode, and then you can write about the episode that when you reached over there at the station and the train hadn't chugged in as yet, and you were a little ahead of it, but the taxi driver didn't have change, and you had a 2,000 rupee note and you had to pay him 1,000. The deal was 1,000 and the taxi driver didn't have it, and you were really fret, and by the time you would go searching for change. So you have to add a little spice to everything, like, now this is the money part of it, which you are adding into it, that what makes you so desperate, and how desperate you are, and what efforts you made, and how you felt. And then you felt to yourself, at that point you felt very sad. There goes my another lot of money. I'm wasting money just to get there. And then you had to give the taxi driver, and you just tell him, whatever change you have, you give me. So apparently he had a few 100 rupee notes and a few tens and 20s, and he just took it all out and he gave it, but it did not amount up to 1,000. But anyway, it was something better than nothing, and you just pick up whatever he gives you and you rush and you get onto the train. And you get onto the train and you are rushing to get onto the train. Add a little more twist. And when you're rushing to get onto the train, a ticket collector stops you and he says, ticket, and then you add it, and then he stops, and you're trying to explain that I have a ticket for this train, I missed it on the last platform. So he says, but you're entering into the platform, and where's your ticket? So your ticket is an e-ticket. So you say it's on my phone, and then you open your phone and then you realize that, oh, you forgot to put it on charging and your battery is running down. So you said, I have this thing, power bank. So by the time you take out your power bank and you put it on and this and that, and the train chugs in and chugs out, and again you're at a loss. So the next station is, you can name a city of the next station, which is another 1 hour away. So you take another vehicle and you push off, or you find an express train, a train that goes faster than that one, and you see that you ask the person, is there an express train? And he says, now the express train will come in, and you realize that the express train will go faster than the one that you were traveling on. And then so you buy a ticket for the express train and you wait, you hop onto the express train and you play all the way to the next station, that you get onto that very train that you booked your ticket for. And then you can end it by saying that you went, you got your train, you landed at wherever you were supposed to go, from say from here to Bombay, Pune to Bombay, and then all the different stations. And so you can just say that you landed over there, and then you booked yourself in, and you went and you got ready, you rested, and then you got ready, and then you went for the party eventually, and that is that. So you understood, you got the gist of it. So your first essay. The second one is, narrate an incident which made you realize that forgiveness is nobler than revenge. This is a very good one. Forgiveness is nobler than revenge. So here you have to give an episode, you have to narrate an incident where you forgive someone and why you forgave that person. It could be your best friend, it could be, you have to write about the full thing from the very beginning, how it started, a small sentence led into a big huge one because people spoke and friends spoke and they blew it out of proportion, and how it landed into a huge massive fight and all that, and what it led to. So you can go on narrating. So you have to have a good incident, and this incident has to involve a couple of people, okay, and then you can do that. It could be some kind of an incident with your friend, or it could be an incident that your father had with your brother which you saw, or your father had with your sister which you saw. It could be any kind of incident. It could be an incident that you realized when you were traveling on the road, and you come across an incident and you realize what that person has done, and you can give that incident, and you realize that forgiveness is nobler than revenge. Now you can even have that, how will you prove that it's nobler than revenge? How will you prove? Because if you take revenge, if you don't forgive and you take revenge, that revenge, it never ends. It doesn't have an ending. It goes on and on. You take revenge, then the opposite person takes revenge, and then again you take revenge, and then because the revenge you took last time, it leads to another point. So this revenge never stops. It goes on. Sometimes, revenge in a family, revenge can go on for a decade. It can go on for a decade, especially in joint families, where you can also narrate in joint families, and then the revenge goes on, and who has to suffer? It's the older generation who hold a grudge against each other, and the younger generation, the children, have to suffer. So this is how you can know that revenge is not worth it, and being nobler, you forgive, and you are a noble person. You forgive, and you may not get anything in return when you forgive. When you forgive someone, you might not get anything in return. There's nothing in return, but you will feel that there will be that kind of inner happiness. You will feel a greatness within you that you have forgiven someone, and nobody will be able to point a finger at you when you have forgiven someone. And to forgive someone is not, it doesn't make you any smaller in size, or doesn't make you any poorer. When you've done something and you want to ask for forgiveness, you ask it, because don't hesitate. So that is what being noble is. So you cut out the revenge part. You can even give an example of revenge and how revenge goes on and on and on, and there is no end to it. The next one is narrate about a time when you were late for an important function. What was the lesson you learned on punctuality? So this is again over here you have to narrate a time when you were late for an important function. So you can connect it like the first essay, but this important function, it could be an important function. It could be an important function where it could be that what lesson you learned, your punctuality to your own wedding. It could be an important aspect. It could be a punctuality to your own wedding. Or you can narrate about not being punctual, because we Indians, we have a tendency, we call it IST, Indian Standard Time. That is the given phrase, right? We have Greenwich Mean Time, but we say Indian Standard Time. But in slang language, we say Indian Stretchable Time. We Indians tend to stretch time. When a situation is going to start, it's given on an invitation. The invitation, it states over there, the program is going to start at 9 o'clock. Well, we Indians, we have a tendency, instead of 9, takes time. We tend to stretch it and we go all the way. Instead of 9, we go to 9:15, some land 9:30, and the main guest lands up at 9:40, 9:30, 9 or 10 o'clock, and all the people are waiting. So we tend to stretch it, So this is what happens. So when you have an important function, what was the function? You can even connect it to the first essay that I explained. What was the function? What was the importance of the function? Why was it important? What would you gain from it? And what would happen if you did not attend it? What would you lose? So the pros and the cons you can write in the middle passage, and then you can end it with the ending. Your ending can be that what was the lesson you learned? What was the lesson you learned? You learned that you learned a lesson that there were 3 seats available. You were not, and because you landed late, and you can talk about an interview, for example, and then there were 3 seats available, but you landed late and you missed your turn. Your time was at 9:45, but you landed at 12, so you had to wait till everybody finished, and you were the last. And when they looked at you and they said, oh, but your time was 9:45, so that was the first minus point that the interviewer had by knowing that you were late and you were not punctual, and that was the lesson you learned. And then they told you that if you cannot be punctual, at an interview, how can we expect you to be perfect and punctual in your job and to do your best at your work? So, this is what you can say that you have learnt in your last paragraph. So, that is the 3 essays that you have got. Then now we move on to letter, which is informal. Informal letters, you know, you just you don't have a sender's name. In an informal letter, you don't have a sender's name. You start everything from the left hand of your paper. You start on the left side of your paper. You start with the sender's address. You write the sender's address. After the sender's address, you leave a line, you write the date. After the date, you leave a line and you write your salutation. Salutation is when you are wishing someone. Dear sir, I mean over here it is informal, so my dear friend, or respected, if you are talking to your father, respected dad, or respected, or my mom. You can even say, if you are good terms with your mom, you can say hi mom, or you have a, if you call your mom by a pet kind of a name, so you can even write that. You know, there are people who nowadays, new generation, you'll have names for your moms and for your fathers. So, you can even address, if you're chill with that, you can address it in that kind of a format. And then after the salutation, remember, in informal, you don't have a subject. In informal, there is no subject. Whatever subject is given to you, you do not write a subject. So, in informal, you have only 3 things that you have to take care of. One is the address, and make sure that you write the date, and dear friend or dear so and so, or whatever your salutation. Your first opening thing will be, here I have given you, write a letter inviting your friend, he, she, to spend the day at your place. Give a valid reason for your invitation, for your invite. So, you have to write a letter to your friend, inviting your friend to spend the day with you, and in your letter you have to give a valid reason why you want your friend to come over and spend the day with you. So, that is how you start off. You start off, and please, when you are starting off the beginning, you people tend to write hi, hi Ram, hi Sunil, hi so and so, hi Neha, hi this one, hi that one. You all start off with that, okay? And then you say, how are you? I'm fine, I'm waiting for you, I'm waiting to see you, I'm dying to see. Don't start all with that. When you are starting, and what are you doing, and I received your letter. So, that all when you want to write, think of what you want to write. Don't write silly things, you know, that I went and I bought this and I want you to come. Please don't start off like that way. So, you start in a neat way. My dear so and so, okay, or hi, whatever name. Then you go on to the, how are you? I do hope everything's fine at your end. The same goes here, okay? And I would also like to know how your parents are doing, your brothers and your parents and your sister. I hope everything is all well. Then you add on that I'm just writing to you as I have some good news for you that I want to share with you. It's been a long time, and I do hope that you love what I have to say. Then you come on to the next paragraph. The next paragraph is saying, I know you're eager to know what it's all about. So, here it goes. You have to give a reason. I said you have to give a reason. So, your reason is that you want her to come over to spend a day. Now, what reason would you give? You can give a reason that it's your birthday, okay, it's your birthday. You can give a reason, another reason you can give is that your parents are out and you decide to have a day where you can have a fun day with friends, okay. So, you want to spend it, your parents being out for the day, you decide that you want to spend a day with you want your friends to spend a day with you. So, it's a birthday, your parents are out, or you can, the next reason is that since you really worked hard and you came first, your parents your mother gave you permission to invite a couple of friends over, and so you are having them over. The next thing is that you can give a reason that my dad has just come from a trip abroad and he's bought a lot of goodies, and he's bought gifts for me and for you too, and I want to share it with you. So these are the different reasons you can find. So you write a reason and you say that this is the reason I want you to come, and so and I hope you will come, and my car will come and pick you up. Now you are writing to a friend not in another city, okay? You are writing to a friend in your city only. Now it seems a little weird, you know, because you will say why have we had to write to invite our friend, okay? You will say that you will say there is a phone, no, I can phone and ask them. Well, here is the hitch. You are inviting your friend because you are giving your friend to come not to your house, to come to your farmhouse, which is outside on the outskirts of the city, where you are going to celebrate, enjoy the day. Now, since you are inviting your friend to the farmhouse, it so happens to be that you are at present in the farmhouse, and that is why you are writing the letter, and you do not have any internet connection because you are way up, your farmhouse is way up on a hill and there is no satellite and no internet connection. So you have to send a mail, and while you wrote the mail, you can even mention that I am writing this letter to you as I am at the farmhouse and we do not have internet connection, and this also will give you the address, and then you can say given below I have put in the address of the farmhouse, but you do not need to worry because my car will come into Pune or into town, pick you up and bring you to the farmhouse. So what time the car will come to pick her up and what time she has to be ready, and that is the situation. So, and then you can even add, so I do hope you will come, and I am waiting, eagerly waiting to meet you, and I just want to spend a good time with you. Then you can also say that I have also invited blah 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 so and so to come to spend the day. So we will be about 4 or 5 of us and we will have a great time. I've also, you can at the ending you can also say that I've also decided a few games and a few fun games and a few interesting things that we can do to pass our time, and I hope that your parents allow you and give you permission to come, waiting eagerly. So so RSVP, you can put a card, RSVP, please reply, and the address given below. So you say thanking you, love you, so and so, and then enclosed you can write your address and an RSVP card. RSVP card is the meaning of RSVP. I do not know if you know the full form of RSVP. RSVP is not an Indian word. It is not an Indian word. It is a French word. The meaning of RSVP is répondez s'il vous plaît. It means répondez s'il vous plaît. Reply please will you. So that is the meaning. In actual French it is replies please will you. So you have to reply. So you have to acknowledge. Reply means you do not reply back, you have to acknowledge the invitation and acknowledge your presence. So that is the meaning of RSVP, répondez s'il vous plaît. So that is the meaning of RSVP. So you have to write that, so then you get an invitation back and then you know that you have to send the car. So these are the tiny things that you must remember how you have to write it, because if you just write anything without having a link, because you should have a link, it should be interlinked with everything. So it does not seem, there should not be a break in your letter of where you have written that come and I am here and my car will come and this thing, and your permission from your parents. Okay, permission from your parents you will take, but how am I to know whether your parents have permitted you or no? So that is the thing. Why am I writing a letter? I could have called you. So that is the thing. So calling and this thing cannot happen because we are writing a letter. That is the main reason of why we are writing a letter. Otherwise you will think, I am writing a letter, you please phone me. I am writing a letter, you please phone me, then it turns stupid. If you are writing a letter, please phone me, then why don't you phone that person and tell that person to send it to you? It's as simple as that. But we are writing a letter, so you've got to be careful of what you write and how you write it, and what you mention and how you mention it. So that's the thing. And you've got 2 letters I've given you. So the second one is, you are in a boarding school, write a letter to your mother inquiring about her health and well-being of the family. Do mention how you are keeping. So that's a common, that's a very something simple which you can write on your own. You've got another comprehension which I've given you in the same chapter, and this comprehension also is the same as the ones before. You've got to read the passage, answer the questions, and do not write paragraph and paragraph from the passage itself. Write in your own words. Comprehension is to be written in your own, the answers are to be written in your own words. I will not entertain any copywriting from the passage. You write from the passage and it will not be entertained. I think I still have a little time, but I don't know whether I have time. I will put a stop now, and Dinah ma'am will come to you, and she will explain 2 assignments on grammar. Now she is going to explain the grammar part to you. Now the grammar part that she is going to explain today is on tenses. She is going to, I think it's tenses and verbs, the different kind of verbs, and what are tenses and what are verbs. So that is what Dinah is going to explain to you. All you have to do is pay attention, and she has given you an assignment. Now this assignment also you have to work it at home. She will explain and tell you, she will explain an example of one passage, of one sentence, and she will show you how you have to work on your assignment. So she will do tenses today, and she will do kinds of verbs. You have 4 or 5 kinds of verbs. So I am closing in now. So this is my assignment part to you. I have given you one. I have to do descriptive. Descriptive. I have done narrative and I have done imaginary. I have to do descriptive and formal letter. Thank you.